All right, so we're going to use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations, and we are going to use the discriminant to figure out how many solutions and what type of solutions we have for a quadratic equation. So the quadratic formula, you guys used this in Algebra 1, so hopefully it at least rings a bell. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You guys remember that, right? Yep. Some of you have a little song you sing. Some of you might know a story. Okay. At any rate, if you had forgotten it, memorize it again. The thing you have to remember, though, when you use it, is your equation must be in standard form. Because if it's not in standard form, then you're going to use the wrong values for A, B, and C. So it must be in standard form. And standard form would be ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And a can't equal 0, because if a was 0, then it wouldn't really be quadratic. So ax squared plus bx plus c. But that means b could be 0 and c could be 0. So be aware of that. That happens sometimes. So our first example that we're going to do is we are going to solve x squared plus 3x equals 2. So first of all, is it in standard form? No, it's not. What do I need to do? Subtract the 2 and get it to the other side. All right, so I'm going to do that. And when I do that, I get x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. So what's my a value? What's my b value? 3. And what's my c value? Negative 2. Okay, so we just plug that right into the equation. X equals negative b. So negative b is going to be negative 3. Plus or minus b squared, so 3 squared. Minus 4ac, so 4 times 1 times negative 2. All over 2a, so it's over 2 times 1. All right, so the thing that you have to be most careful with when you guys are using the quadratic formula is watch your signs, okay? The signs are what usually mess people up. You drop a negative sign, you add a negative sign, you forget that a negative times a negative is positive. Any one of those things and your problem is just going to blow up, okay? So you got to be really careful with your signs when you're working with the quadratic formula. So what do I have under my radical there? What is 3 squared? 9. And how about that minus 4 times 1 times negative 2? Plus 8. Okay. And then 2 times 1 is just 2. So on top then, I've got negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 17 all over 2. Can I simplify the square root of 17? Nope, I can't. So that's it. I'm done. That's your answer. Okay. So let's have you guys give this one a try on your whiteboards. First thing I want to see before you get going is show it to me in standard form, because I want to make sure you're using the right values for A, B, and C. Yes. Okay, so we have two possibilities there. Most of you were saying x squared minus 6x plus 4 equals 0. A few of you went the other way and said negative x squared plus 6x minus 4. Either way, you will get the same answer. All right, so once you got to this point, we knew that 20 was 4 times 5, right? And so we get 6 plus or minus 2 root 5 over 2. That means I can actually divide both of them by 2. I've got a 2 on the outside of the parentheses, so I can divide that 2 out. And so it's actually going to be 3 plus or minus root 5. So most of you were close, but you just didn't quite simplify it all the way. Okay? So when you can, go ahead and reduce the whole thing. All right, so now let's take a look at this one. So what is my A for this one? 25. What's B? Oh, we don't know yet. Is it in standard form? No. Okay, let me subtract the 12x from both sides and add the 9. All right, so now I'm going to have 25x squared minus 30x plus 9. All right, so now I can figure it out. What is b? Negative 30. And what is c? Positive 9. Okay, so x equals negative b, so that becomes positive 30, plus or minus. What's negative 30 times negative 30?
900.
900, yes. Minus 4ac, so 4 times 25 times 9, over 2a, so 2 times 25. All right, so now when I multiply 4 times 25, I get 100 times 9, I get 900, right? So what happens in the radical? It just equals 0, right? And what is the square root of 0? 0. So it just goes away. So when the b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, how many answers did I end up with? I only ended up with one answer. Okay? All right. I'm going to do another example for you. So I'm not quite going to have you guys do anything yet on your whiteboards. All right, so for this one, again, it's not in standard form, so I'm going to subtract the 5 and get negative x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. So x is going to equal negative b, so that's negative 4, plus or minus b squared, which is 16, minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 5, all over 2 times negative 1. All right, so again, I need to be careful with my signs. What's going to happen when I do my negative 4 times negative 1 times negative 5? Is it going to be positive or negative? It's negative, so it's negative 20, right? All over negative 2. And so that means I've got negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 all over negative 2. Well, what is the square root of negative 4 going to simplify to? 2i, very good. Because the square root of negative 1 is I, and the square root of 4 is 2. All right, so that means I've got x equals negative 4 over 2 plus or minus 2i over 2, except for those are negative 2's. Sorry about that. So then I can simplify it the rest of the way. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is a positive 2. And then because I have plus or minus, it doesn't really matter. It's still going to be plus or minus. It's just the plus and minus have essentially switched places, but it's still positive or negative I. Okay. All right, so because of time, I think I want to go ahead and go on to the next problem, or the next section to show you. Again, all of this is review except for the imaginary numbers, but you guys already know what to do with those, so really you're equipped to do all these problems. All right, the discriminant. We also talked about this in Algebra 1, so in case you don't remember though. The discriminant is the b squared minus 4ac, the thing that is under the radical. It tells us how many solutions we have and what type of solutions we have. Because if it is a positive number, can I take the square root of a positive number? Right. And so, like the first one, we had the square root of 17, right? Plus or minus the square root of 17. So that's actually how many solutions? If it's plus or minus something,
2.
It's actually 2 separate solutions, and they are real numbers. So whenever the discriminant is a positive number, we end up with 2 real solutions, and that means we have 2 x-intercepts. Then when we did the second problem, we had 900 minus 900. It ended up equaling 0, right? How many solutions did we have that time? We had just 1 solution, and it was a real solution also. That means that there is 1 x-intercept. It means the vertex is on the x-axis. And I think we've talked about that before, too. That when we got 1 solution, that meant the vertex was on the x-axis. So the only thing that's a little bit different now is when we were in Algebra 1, when it came out to a negative, we just said, oh, there's no solution, right? Well, that wasn't completely accurate. What it meant was there was no real solution. But what kind of solution can I have? Imaginary. I can have 2 imaginary solutions. And in that case, there are no x-intercepts. Okay? So I can use the discriminant just to look at a problem and determine how many solutions there are and what type of solutions they are. So if I look at x squared minus 8x plus 17, I can just do the b squared minus 4ac part and figure out what would be under the radical. So b squared in this case, we got negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 17. So I get 64 minus 68. What's that going to equal? Negative 4. So what kind of solutions am I going to have? Are they going to be real? No, they're going to be imaginary. And how many of them do I have?
2.
2 imaginary solutions. All right, so I'm going to let you guys figure out this one. It's almost the same as the one I just did, so it shouldn't take you too long to figure it out. Figure out the discriminant and how many solutions and what type of solutions you're going to have for B. Okay, so it looks like most of you are coming up with that it equals 0, which means there is one real solution. Okay, so just to summarize, if my discriminant, if b squared minus 4ac is a positive number, how many solutions? 2. What kind? 2 real solutions. Okay, what if my discriminant is negative? 2 imaginary. What if my discriminant is 0? 1 real. Okay, you guys got that down? All right, thanks.